Josephine's gonna love that one.
ASMR.
Right, the best sound ever. Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Robb and we're on location in Penticton with Dave Mai, one of the Okanagan's probably top creatives in my mind. How are you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
And I can't wait to
Very kind words.
dive in. I've known you for a long time, and I'd actually honestly have to say probably the person who got me into performing live music since at a young age. So
Right on, man.
let's dive into who you are, how you got into music, and how music evolved into this incredible career and lifestyle that you have.
Well, you were there when I started. We were like, what, 15,
About
14?
that,
Yeah. Just, I don't know. I really liked playing music, and I always fathomed a career in either music, graphic design, or filmmaking. And so I just looked for those opportunities as I was growing up. And yeah, there's a lot of influences from local bands. You know, we'd see each other at local shows. We played shows together. And it was just a cool vibe where everyone gets together to appreciate art and music. And I just knew that's where I wanted to be in life, because that's what felt the most normal. You know, flipping burgers wasn't really inspiring. But, you know, it's a lifestyle.
You've managed to make it really far, considering we're just boys from Penticton, and you've managed to make it to a point where when a big show's come through the Okanagan, you're the one who gets to do sound and videos that are mind-blowing. Well, like the quality that you put out, whether it's music, film, being a person, is kind of, it's next level. And it's not, I don't want to say intimidating, because it's not intimidating, but you have an ability to take something that you want, go full bore with it, and there's no like fear that vibes off of you. It's just straight confidence, and what you do shines.
Well, there's lots of fear behind it.
Well,
Honestly.
maybe, and I think that's being the creative, right?
Yeah.
But like to watch you go from jamming in your parents' like upstairs in the studio that you made there, to watching some of the videos that you put out of like rock climbing, or some of the drone shots of the Okanagan, and they're breathtaking. It's not just filming, like there's a whole creative and spiritual element to the video that you put out. And that's just the video. That's not the music. That's not the live sound. That's not the art. That's not all the creative endeavors that you do. That's just one facet.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just magical to see.
Thanks.
You know, because you are a very creative person, and always have been, and very inspiring to me for that just go get it kind of mentality, and do it yourself. Like you said, you never wanted to do the burger flipping.
Yeah.
But now you're at a point where
I'm kind of unemployable, to be honest.
I like that. I'm unemployable. That is a good way to say it. I think it's because your creative juices shine so much that it's intimidating for a lot of other people who aren't, because you're a go-getter, I think.
Yeah. I'm pretty relentless in that matter. Yeah, it kind of came from my immigrant upbringing. My parents were both immigrants, and I've always grown up with them telling me that we moved here to Canada. We escaped from Vietnam to come to Canada to give you the best life ever. So I had like this immigrant guilt where I was like, oh fuck. I mean,
It's okay.
beep. I need to do my best and like not let them down, because they sacrificed so much for me. So that kind of like, that's where my drive comes from.
That's
And
really
yeah, you mentioned the word spiritual in the description. I would say that's where my my vibe is, because media arts is such a powerful medium. Like, you're manipulating perception pretty much. Like, what I produce, people listen to, people visualize, they can feel it through the sound waves, you know? So it's a very spiritual thing. And all of that, all this media art first comes from the mind. And that's what I like about collaborating with people in this industry is I get to mind meld with other people and see different perspectives and, create new things and blend ideas, blend cultures, blend language. It's powerful. Like political governments use media to control the masses, and I want to use media to create art and love and connection.
Love that. That's awesome. So what was the first stepping stone into film? Because I know that you were producing music and performing music, and you were very into being a band member.
Yeah.
And then one day I just noticed it went from being a musician to filmmaker. And it was like incredible filmmaker, not like slow steps. It was just like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it full bore. And 10 years later, we're here sitting in your studio in the house that you own, and the businesses that you're creating are just expanding.
Thanks. It's sound and music are pretty much the same thing. You look at the circle of fifths, which is a music theory thing, and it's a chart, and you overlay that chart over top of like the color wheel, and it's the exact same thing. Just the way you blend colors, the way you blend notes in music, you're building harmony. So it wasn't really that hard of a step to go into filmmaking because I was a very technical person, and I just grew up tinkering with cameras and electronic equipment. So it was a natural progression, but I got into film by composing music for school projects.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always had an interest in film, but it wasn't until recently where I realized that my interest in all this is for a purpose of creating this moment where I am right now. So I started composing music for film, and my buddy needed another camera guy. I was like, okay, I can do that too. So I started playing with his cameras, and I just never put it down after that. And I just started filming a lot of adventure sports kind of stuff because that was what was most visually appealing to me, and I was really into rock climbing and mountain biking and all that stuff. So I think where a lot of my success came was from my subject matter, because it was kind of like a fringy, not a mainstream kind of subject to capture, It's a little harder to get to, a little harder to shoot. So I found that really appealing and kind of niche-y, I guess.
So you like the journey?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the journey. And, when I'm out there in the woods on like the side of a mountain, hanging off a rope, I'm like, this is so cool. I need to share this moment with everybody. Why not just film it? Mm-hmm. And that's where it all came from, was just wanting to share these beautiful moments.
And you like some of the videos that I've seen of the like rock climbing, and like the photos that you see from there are just insane. I'm terrified of heights. So to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's a great spot to go film is like a weird concept for me that I'm like, man, like to put yourself in like, that's like almost like those wildlife photographers who are like, they put themselves in these crazy dangerous situations, and it's like, that's the high they're chasing, is like getting to share that moment of like pure fear and like adrenaline, and to capture that is, I've never thought of it that way. And like that's, like you said, listening to different perspectives of like filmmakers and people and creatives who always like, we all think completely differently. That's a really cool perspective to be like, I want to be on the side of a mountain and share this moment.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is a little scary, but like when I press record and I'm filming that person on like a side of a cliff or a side of a frozen waterfall or something, I'm actually very calm in that moment. And I'm calm because of all the hours I put in previously to learn the rope work. I've researched the location where I'm shooting. You know, I've looked on Google Maps to see the best access to drop my rope in. It's all this pre-planning and hard work that doesn't get seen up until that moment of the viewer watching. It's like this invisible behind the scenes thing that no one ever gets to see.
Yeah, you never think about that, especially with like location scouting.
Yeah.
And being on a level that's very dangerous too.
Yeah.
You have to be really prepped.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think, like, a lot of people probably don't think about the amount of time going into the safety factors and the technicalities of just getting 30 seconds of footage.
Yeah, not only that, like, just to like hump all your gear in there is a whole other thing. I've gotten injuries from just doing that.
I can imagine.
That's the hard part, in my opinion. It's not the shooting; it's the bringing all the equipment in and getting set up. And
Right. Do you have assistants on jobs like that are there to like help you hand gear down if you need it, or are you just
usually the talent?
Are you just like all on
The
it?
talent helps out quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, the talent that I shoot are in the adventure world are a lot stronger than me and more experienced than me. So like I'm the weakest link in my opinion.
Okay. Because there's a physical element too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not just filming on the side of a thing rappelling. It's like there's a physical element to rock climbing that is way more physically draining than a lot of other sports.
Yeah.
It's I've tried like the walls. Like,
the
plastic ones, man, and I can't make it like 4 feet up. I fall. I don't have that upper body strength anymore, and I'm like, there's people who are hanging there by fingertips, and I'm like, the respect factor for rock climbers is just insane.
Yeah, I'm kind of a masochist. I like to do really hard things. Because like when I come back to my normal life, it's like, oh, I'm mixing a song for a room full of 3,000 people, whatever. That's nothing compared to hanging off a cliff. So just I don't know, something about being in like high stress situations I'm really good at.
Have you ever considered like skydiving videos, or have you done them?
I've created a film called Speed Flyer with the help of TELUS STORYHIVE, actually.
Oh, okay.
That was my latest production with them that's been released.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's speed flying is a new form of, I guess it's a smaller paraglider.
Okay.
So it goes really fast and really close to the ground. So it doesn't go up like a paraglider. Okay. So they're proximity flying close to the ground and like doing barrel loops and stuff. And I had the honor of capturing the story of the sport emerging in Western Canada.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because I've actually not heard about that. When you mentioned it, I thought like squirrel suits almost.
Yeah, that's what everyone says when I mentioned that I made a film called Speed Flyer. Like, oh, it's squirrel suits. And like,
did you get to go and like fly while filming?
I did a tandem. Yeah.
Man.
That was
I want to see that footage now.
I was the first, one of the first Canadians to do a tandem speed riding. So there's speed flying, which is how they launch by foot.
Okay.
And there's speed riding, where they do it with skis on.
Oh, God.
So
that would be so fun.
We skied toward up to the top of the mountain, which is uphill skiing pretty much. Mm-hmm. And then we set up the wings, like strapped to him, our skis are on, and we just like send it down this hill off a cliff.
No big deal.
I was so scared.
I can imagine.
I'm not much of a flyer, so.
No, you like heights, but not flying heights? Like you like climbing heights?
It's just new to me, and
it's a weird feeling being weightless like that.
When there's new things are scary.
Yeah, that's such a cool experience, and I bet that leads into other more emerging sports that probably like that's what I love about filming, is you don't think about like with music it's like, oh, you got to book shows, got to do music videos, got to do this. With film, there's endless possibilities from commercials to, like you said, doing upcoming sports. Like documentaries, there's an endless stream of creative possibilities. And I love that you kind of gravitate towards the extreme sports because everyone loves dirt biking, skateboarding, snowboarding because they've had like 30 years to grow onto our culture. And new sports are continuously growing and new things, but they don't get a lot of exposure because they still are very young. probably dangerous and still trying to figure out the legalities of, is this going to be a logical thing down the road? But to be like the first in to do that and embrace the moment and get to see what they see, to present it to the world so that they can see it. That middleman point is a very special person, and I think it takes a special person to be able to take the product and make it a finished thing that people see, in the sense of like, how can you take the emotion and the adrenaline and the emotions that are built into this moment that you're going through, that you're filming when you're flying off a cliff on skis, and put that into film so people can feel it. It's a weird transition, but great directors and videographers can make it happen. And I think that you do that.
Oh, thanks.
You make, like, you can physically be there watching the films that you do. And I think it's not like anybody can pick up a camera and film somebody rock climbing, but to be, your eye is what is the trick. Like, it's what is hiding behind your eyes and your brain that makes your film and what you make different and beautiful. There's just, I don't know. I have a lot of friends who do film, but there's something about what you make that really has always been like, wow, like, that's Dave's.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the subjects I shoot, I have a very personal connection to all of them. It's I just don't show up and be like, hey, you climbing, taking photos. It's like this slow burn of creating this relationship and trust between every single of these subjects that I film. Like, for example, the speed flying thing, like you said, it being an emerging sport, you know, there's no regulations around it in Canada. So the whole story was about discovering the limitations of it in Western Canada, and, you know, paragliders and stuff, they have to deal with Transport Canada because they're in public airspace, you know.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and speed flying is not in that periphery yet, and it just became part of the HPAC Transport Canada ecosystem there. So that was the journey of the sport in that film, was finding this community, getting embedded with them, and following that story to the end, where now they've have instructors and training people correctly so they're not dying. Because inherently throwing yourself off a cliff is dangerous.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Right?
and then these pioneers that, you know, first started doing it here in Canada with no mentors, just watching YouTube videos. You know,
it's when you break it down into like that concept, it is really crazy, because like, you get to document that moment, and like, who's to say in like 30 years down the road they're not going to look at that film and be like, this is the moment that it got exposed, right? Like,
yeah,
like the old films that we look at snowboarding, when we're like the original snowboarding films, and you're like, these are the guys who pioneered it.
yeah.
Like,
The skate films, you know?
right?
I used to watch so many skateboard films.
Yeah.
That was one of the inspiring things that got me into the extreme sports worlds, with skate films and snowboard films.
Right? And like, it took them a long time to blow up, but like, I can still name Baker 3, probably one of my favorite videos.
Oh, yeah.
Wildcats. You know, there's so many that you're like, and it's the way they're filmed. It's not just because somebody filmed them, it's how they're made.
Yeah.
It really makes them
It
matter.
had like a really like raunchy kind of skater, I don't give a whatever, a hoot kind of mentality behind it. It was the culture, right, that made those films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you approached by the community, or did you reach out because you found it and you're like, I want to do a film on this?
I reached out to them because I knew a couple of the people.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's always like,
So you've got to
it's
watch
from
it.
my idea.
Yeah,
Usually
so you get to go.
I get these ideas and I'm like, I wonder if there's anything more to this.
I mean, that's how the greatest films have always been made, though. It's
Yeah.
like just an idea that. And that's the thing, is ideas are such a valuable thing that I think society doesn't really like. They don't think their ideas hold weight anymore. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have an idea, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's like, well, why not? If you put the energy into it, it's going to snowball and go wherever you want it to, but you just have to focus on it. And I think you're a prime example of wanting something and getting there. And, you know, like, could have gone so many different ways in life, but you decided to stick to what you wanted. And I'm sure there's been hard times in the years that you've done it, where you're like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? Like everyone
Still.
has, like, yeah, and I
Still to
think
this day.
we all struggle with that. And I think that's the artist in us, is because,
Yeah.
and like you said, you have like your parents coming from Vietnam. My family came from Holland and Indonesia, right? Like, I think there is a foreigner's guilt, I think you called it, and it made me laugh because I'm like, it's how my family raised me. It was like we moved from Holland and Germany. Like they actually moved from Germany when Berlin Wall came down to here, and they're like they grind, but it's family. If you're not born in Canada, there's a really different mentality. Like with being the firstborn in Canada, I guess to say,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
there is a like my family. Like I always wanted to be something because they came from a really terrible place and came to a better place for a better life. And like when you said that today, it was kind of like a whoa moment for me because like never actually thought about the drive that comes from my history versus my personal like spite of like, oh, someone said I can't do that, I'm gonna go do it. That's usually what empowers me, is saying I can't do it, I'm gonna do it, because I got older brothers who always picked on me and they're like, you can't do that, and I'll prove you wrong. So it's kind of cool to see another person who has been raised like as the first generation in Canada and has like pushed as hard as possible. And like I've met your parents and they're amazing people. I guarantee they're so proud of you. You know what I mean? Like they've watched you go from like jamming with us and Marty and Brett and all of us upstairs just racket as kids to being like, you're a professional
Yeah.
filmmaker, sound director. Like you so many labels. It's almost actually insane to think.
Yeah, man. It's I don't like to label myself. I'm just a creative. I don't want to say
Very
content
creative.
creator because that's kind of like a
I hate that term too,
dude,
but
like yeah, I was creating content before the content creator was
exactly.
a thing.
Before it was even social media, Dave was quite literally making stuff happen.
It's so oversaturated right now
It
too,
is.
and like what you're saying about people having an idea and just shrugging it off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that plays into it too, is the saturation of all this media that we're consuming, which is driving me even harder to make something meaningful.
Right.
Because now I have to like push through all this noise and create something authentic and not just a catchy TikTok dance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to be like this forever, I don't think. Things are always changing. Nothing ever stays the same. So I'm just trying to keep my radar out to see where the puck's going to be as I move forward.
It's one thing I've always admired is kind of you have this where other people, like for example, I'm very guilty of it. If I see something not working, after a certain amount of time, I'll put it aside because I know it's like clearly I don't have the skills that I need to make that work right now. I need to go learn and educate myself in a different aspect, and then that will click one day. Like that's how I see it. But like if struggle points, I don't like you may personally have them, but they don't shine out. Like they're very kept in. You know what I mean? So like if you have points where you're like depressed about it because you're not happy where you are, like you don't have enough jobs going at a moment or something like that, like those moments pushing through and creating, I find is the hardest when it's for yourself. Because if you're working for somebody else was handing you jobs and paying your bills, like giving you a paycheck, it wouldn't be as stressful. But when it falls on your shoulders to make the work, to make your business go, because you have a family to provide for, there's a lot of stress that comes behind that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people let that stress crumble their shoulders. And I think you and I are in the same aspect that when we have stress on our shoulders, it's more of a motivator. It's like, I've got to get it done. And I think that comes from how we were raised. There's just like, there's no excuses. You get it done. Like, there's a mentality difference. I think it's also our generation compared to the new generations coming out where like the newer generation doesn't like to party. They don't have a lot of like hobbies where they're going out and creating new things. Like they all tend to stick to the same what's popular, and they're all following in this trend of, okay, this is how we do it. As where we were stuck outside and had we were kicked outside. Go play in the woods, you know,
Yeah.
go drink out of the hose kind of a thing. So we had to use our imagination to create something to entertain ourselves, which has turned into us being able to have hobbies that have turned into jobs. That is like pushing our lives. And I think that there's just like a weird gap between the age difference and trying to like connect to the younger crowd with the mentality we have is very difficult. At least for me, I'm having a hard time getting those messages out to the younger crowd because the younger crowd doesn't have the same mentality. So like, how can we relate, especially when you're trying to live in a world of social media and you're trying to compete with content creators who are just putting out videos and you actually have deep meanings and messages to get out there. It's very hard in a flooded world. And what has been the easiest way for you to just kind of push through that noise, that mental noise of like, is this worth it online? Because I know behind the scenes off of social media, you're always going to have a good business. But trying to build it online, is it difficult? Do you find?
Yeah, well, social media is, I get it why this generation is the way they are, because it's so curated what they're seeing on their Black Mirror. These advertisers are...
You just made two and two. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Did you realize what the Black Mirror was? The Netflix show?
Yeah, just made me clue in just now.
Yeah. So they're reflecting on what they're being forced to watch. And the way I push through is just staying true to the authenticity of creation and the bigger picture, which is humanity. I'm not, through my business, I got a few different companies. So I got DM Productions, which is concert production and film production. And then I have South Okanagan Property Tours, which is my real estate media business.
I was going to ask, you just started this up recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been doing it for like 15 years, but I broke it off from DM Productions and kind of created its own branding so I can stick out on social media. Because
I was actually going to dive into that with you.
yeah, it's a little confusing when like I do so many things. Like you said, like I have so many labels. I'm
like
a
Enigma,
I'm a
the same
this, I'm
way.
a that, I'm a them, I'm a they. You know, it's it's confusing. So I found that I broke it off just to focus that, and maybe one day I can sell that company. I don't know. That could be a long-term goal, but there's going to be a lot of things in between that I need to do to get there. So I'm just kind of shoot for the stars, land on the moon, maybe.
Well, it's kind of like what really amazes me. It's like you got your hand in so many different things, but it's all creative.
Yeah.
It's based around one thing, and that is you as a creative genius. And like when we were kids, would you have ever thought that you'd be doing videography for real estate and that would be a job that you were doing?
No, but I did see myself doing corporate film
Yeah.
because I knew that's where the money was. And to bring it back to like how I got into video is I was cutting records at a time where Napster was coming out. You know, all the analog gear was going digital and like home studios were popping up left, right, and center. And like, it just became super accessible to record your own music. And I'm like, this is not sustainable. Musicians don't have money. What am I doing in this industry? So I'm like, I'm just gonna take a little detour to the film world for a bit. And because I saw that's where the trend was, you know, be where the puck is. Yeah, I found success there.
I think it's
a slow burn. Like
it is,
you
and
don't-
that's the hard thing.
Things
right?
just don't happen right away. You need to like plan and every day doing small steps to get you closer to your goal. And you know, some days you're not making a big step. Some days it's a small step, and that's okay too. And
Some days there's steps backwards.
yeah, some days you're stepping backwards. Some days you're getting swept down the river.
Yeah, no, it's actually
Yeah.
That's a really amazing thing to hear because that is one thing that most people I don't think realize. They see a lot of like because as a business owner and as a person who is like you want to post your successes.
Yeah.
You never want to post your
That's all you
failures.
see.
A lot of the time, creative people battle a lot of depression and self-doubt. It's just, that's how we are. We're creatives usually. That's why we are creatives, because that's how we let it out. Self-doubt when it comes to being your own boss and trying to push something is the hardest. There's so many days where I'm like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? Like you said, baby steps. Every day, it takes a big toll on me when I'm thinking I need to be making lunges every day. You know what I mean? You're trying to focus on making these huge leaps and bounds, and those aren't what matter. It is those baby steps, those crawling, like getting out of the hole again, and crawling is what really makes you A, see why it's valuable, B, makes you see your value in yourself and what strengths and like what you can take, because you can't push through life at the fullest without hitting rock bottom at least once. I always find it weird when people are in like their 50s and 60s and haven't had their like rock bottom. I'm like, oh, it's gonna hit you so hard. You know what I mean? Like if you don't, then good on you. But like it happens to everyone. Everyone hits rock bottom at one point, whether it's mentally, physically, or emotionally. And to get out of that and keep pushing, especially for like creatives, I find it's very hard. There's days where I'm struggling big time with that. The whole concept of age is a very big thing for me lately, where I'm like finally at a point where I'm understanding like, yeah, I'm 35. I'm not old. You know, Ford wasn't created until he was like in his 50s. So like to always think that you had to make it by a specific age or you're never going to be successful in the industries that you want was like the biggest detriment to me.
Oh, such a limiting belief.
It is. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got to make it by 27 or in music or you're never going to be famous and you waste your whole life.
Yeah, they only like young people.
Yeah, and it's not true at all. I'm seeing more, especially in the metal industry, working with bands, I'm seeing more and more bands that are 50 years old getting picked up to sign to big labels and becoming huge.
Nice.
Than I am seeing younger bands because they have the experience.
Yeah.
They have the skill. They have the 30 years of playing the instrument.
Yeah.
And I think that shift has really pushed me mentally to be like, I am never going to give up on any of my dreams. And as a parent now, the last 4 years, that has been my biggest drive is like, teach my kids that if they believe in something and they work for it, it's not going to come to you, like work for it, it'll be yours.
Definitely.
That's, I think, the biggest motivator personally in the last few years is like inspiring a younger generation to pick up a camera or pick up an instrument because they're not. And it's kind of scary. I don't want to see guitarists die. You know, like I don't want to see a film die. Like it's not going to, but like good film, not just content, not just like filming yourself talking, but like there's specific films that have changed my life, and like Michael Jackson's documentary. What was it called again? The final one where when you get to see
all the hard work behind the scenes
and like the stress and everything that like you always think Michael Jackson's this like huge star and like he lives a great life, and then you get to see the film and like how much he has to deal with,
how intentional it was,
and how and like tumultuous it was for him, and it's like, and that was his final moments, and you're like his whole life led up to that, and they captured that on film, and no one would understand that unless it was captured on film. Same with Woodstock. If we didn't have footage of Woodstock, could you imagine? Like, the world would be a totally different place.
Yeah.
If no one could look back to see, like, at one point, we collectively as a society had love. And we unified under one thing, which was art, love, and music, and we changed the world. We can do it again. Very easily.
It'll happen again. Of course.
It will, and I think it's just
happening
that
right now.
It is slowly. There was a huge disconnect and like all this division, and all of a sudden it's just kind of like slowly coming back together. But it's the art world has always been arts, music, theater has always been the driving force to change in the world. Like. Maybe, you know what I mean, like has changed things, but like good change has always come from like the Renaissance. You think about the Renaissance times, we get these amazing artists who changed the way we thought. We had inventors, we had all these creative geniuses.
Classical architecture.
Exactly, right? And then it's the creatives who are always changing the future. It's not, I hate to say it, sounds really bad, but it's not society who changes it. It is the thinkers, and society is the builders. So if it wasn't for the Da Vinci's and, like the Bachs and Beethovens, we wouldn't be where we are as a society, because society is based off art. Like, you don't look at a culture and say they're sophisticated culture unless they have art. Cavemen had art, and that's when we turned into people, was when we were drawing on caves. So it's always been there. Even music has always been, since cavemen times, that it's embedded in our soul to be creative.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about like creationism or evolution or anything, but like us creatures, these earthling creatures are creative in themselves. We find harmony within our bodies with the way we have 5 fingers segmented into three joints on each appendage, and there's these design principles that we see in music that emulate our human bodies, and like there's something more out there than just coincidence. Like, I'm not sure what it is.
Me neither. I want to, though.
But I think that's why people can connect to art, is because there's this innate underlying spiritual thing that connects all of us together through design, art, emotion,
It doesn't matter what culture or belief you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love about music, especially, is it's universal. Like, I can go to Africa with my guitar, not speak any language. They can pull out a drum and we can jam. And telepathically, like, there's something telepathically with musicians that I absolutely love. And I've always tried to explain it when I'm talking with other musicians, is like, when you're jamming with someone and you not even have to think or talk or look at each other, and you just change key, or you change like where the song's going, and it's just this natural feeling that almost comes out of nowhere. You don't know what is driving it, because it's not you. Like, when I'm writing music, I don't know who's writing the lyrics. They're just coming out. Or the melodies. Like, I'm not consciously thinking of, I want to write a song like this. It's just flowing out of you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like just an antenna to this universal thought that's coming through you.
Well, I mean, by the time you have that musical thought and the delay for it to come through your fingers and through an instrument amplified by the amplifier, it's already old. There's this thing that's already happened.
Yeah.
It just happened to be intended through you, like you said. And I really feel like we're like the observer of our life. So it's like really important for you to like observe your thoughts and see what your body is doing to react, because like we get our knee-jerk reactions to react a certain way to our thoughts, and like if you can control that and like be super intentional with how your mind and your inner being is, it's powerful. Yeah.
There's definitely.
And art is like the ultimate form of that, I think.
It is. Art, and there's so many different forms of art too. Like, it's hard to break it down and just be like art, because so many different forms and different disciplines in specific regions. Like, I was speaking with Brett yesterday about dance and how the dance culture, because it's something I've never fully embraced. Like, I love dance. I'm totally embarrassed to dance in front of people, but I will do it, right?
Me too.
But he's saying that like there's a total divide in the culture there, where like pop, lock, break dance and that kind of style is not accepted, and like where you've got like ballet and contemporary and hip hop, there's like a weird clash between the two cultures where you think like they'd be embracing each other, but it's kind of like music. It's like you see the same problems in every art form, is kind of what I was like getting at, is that he's like the disciplines, there's always different things, like different genres play with each other with bands, and specific artists will book galleries together because their styles are cohesive together. But I love mixing it up. Like, I want to see it all, and see what happens when you have like a rap, hip hop, and a rock band on a show. Like, why not? Why not blend the film and all of it together? Like, some of my favorite films are completely thrown together that make no sense. Exit Through the Gift Shop, probably one of my favorite films of all time, and it has no purpose other than you at the beginning you think it's about Banksy, and it has nothing to do with Banksy. By the end of it, you're like, great film. Good job, Eugene. But like the story you go through on that about art world and the underground art world scene, if it wasn't for Eugene's crazy mind of wanting to do Banksy, we would never have seen that. And Banksy probably wouldn't have gotten as big as he did, because that film really launched his career in the sense that people were like, oh, because it also has Shepard Fairey in it. Two of the biggest street artists that are now massive and accepted and have made graffiti. I don't want to say graffiti because they're not graffiti artists, but they've made street art to where it is today, where it's extremely acceptable. That was all based off of a giant war between a graffiti artist and Banksy, which is the funny thing, right? So there's always that clash between the underground and contemporary. And like Banksy being I'd say a contemporary artist, because he did have galleries and stuff, versus the street artists who are just with a can in there. You need that one. You always need the one that people are going to not like because they sold out to make that industry pop and shine. So like in music, we like to hate on the emo times. Everyone likes to talk about emo music was terrible. The music you have today is 100% inspired by the music we wrote and grew up with.
I wish I could still grow hair so I can get my emo bangs
Dude,
back.
me too. If I could have my comb over back, bro, I'd be all over it.
I got a different kind of comb over now.
Right? But it's like everyone hates that. But if it wasn't for the From First to Lasts and the Escape the Fates, we wouldn't have the bands that are massive now. Like these major, huge like era, and you know like Polaris. They're all metalcore, which is inspired by the screamo emo music that we listen to. It's just evolved. It's 15 years older.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like all that comes back
it does
to like even classical music. You know, that was like the metal
Oh, dude.
of the Baroque period. You know.
Like it's crazy to think about how talented those musicians were, and like to think that music has gone from crazy symphonies like where Beethoven's like biting a metal tube in his mouth so that he can
Get the
hear
bone
it.
induction, yeah.
Yeah, so he can hear it inside his inner ear because he's deaf. Like, that's metal, bro.
Yeah.
That is the most metal thing I've ever heard. Is like, I'm going to bite a metal piece of tube so I can hear the music because I'm deaf. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
That's like, that drive is so hard to find nowadays.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
everything's
just-
kind of laid
it's
out
so
for us
saturated.
now, right?
Yeah, and like we don't have struggle points like that. Oh, you want to do this? Like, here's the steps to it. Ask ChatGPT how you can do it. Like, I kind of like the trial and tribulations. I like failing. I don't know why, but I love Thomas Edison's like, I found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. I found one that worked, but 1,000 ways not to. And it wasn't failures. It's just, that's how you not do it. Don't do it that way. I think we need those groundbreakers, you know what I mean? Especially in the industries, like, because arts is all of a sudden the last 15 years, like film, music, and that is all of a sudden blown up exponentially with social media, I feel, where it is more valuable now to be a content creator than it is to be like a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're more valued because you have a following than you do with your educational. So that's where, like, I feel like there's a slow change to the people who are masters of their art will slowly be appreciated and become seen. It's just like we got to get through that, like you said, that noise that's sitting there on social media. But I feel like the constant grind is really what gets you through at the end of the day. It's not like blowing up and hitting a video that goes viral, but it's like having a video up for 10 years that slowly is collecting those views, and by the end of it you hit one person who just connects with that video, and then all of a sudden it blows up. I think that's more valuable than like trying to hit on a trend.
Yeah, it's the body of work, man. Like, just got to keep creating that work, and it all builds up to something one day.
Wow, doing really well. Do you still perform at all? Like, do you ever?
A little bit, yeah. I'm starting to play again. Like, I've never stopped playing. I'm always.
Have you been recording yourself? Like, on the side?
Yeah, I'm starting to again.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started just recording other people, and then kind of lost my way with my own personal stuff, and now I'm back at it.
How does it feel?
Good. Yeah. I'm just becoming a better player. Like being a sound engineer, like last year alone, I probably saw maybe 170 live shows that I engineered. And like I'm seeing like Grammy winners, Juno winners, and like all these decorated musicians play, and I'm like, oh my god, I suck. But like now I'm like, okay, you know what? That's inspiration. What can I learn from every show that I do? And I'm just, getting all these ideas. I'm still learning how to play new instruments. Like I just picked up this pedal steel guitar.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I was looking at that earlier. That looks so fun.
Yeah, it's probably the hardest instrument to play in my opinion.
Is it done like string, like with a slide?
Yeah, slide. You
Okay.
got finger picks, and there's pedals on it that shift strings. You got knee levers over here.
Oh my god.
So, like, it has really forced me to become a better musician because I have to understand how each string and each pedal is affecting each note to build a new inversion of the chord, and like it's a brain exercise. And that's, I think, one of the things that has gotten me this far is just to never stop learning and improving your systems and having an open mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, recording, as you can see, like my
Right.
studio's getting bigger and bigger every day.
Bigger, right?
It's not getting smaller, so I'd like to, I'm trying to build up capital so I can buy a bigger studio and put up something grand one day. In the next 5 years, I'd say. I want to open up a nice little destination recording studio with a film and photo studio in it as well.
In Penticton or in the
Ideally Penticton, or maybe a bit more rural. I'm not sure.
You plan to stay here then?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's kind of home. My parents are here.
Yeah. I wish that with the one thing I wish I would love to see brought back is, I was talking with Paul and Julie yesterday, is all ages venues. Like I wish we had an all ages venue in Penticton because there's so much potential with the younger crowd to get shows like how we used to go to shows, but it's just like there's none happening.
Yeah.
So that'd be a cool thing to see, but a studio. I would love to see a studio here because I don't think there are any. Are there? Like big studios?
There's a couple private ones,
Yeah.
But
I knew there was private ones.
yeah, like I want to make it commercial.
Yeah.
And, like have it welcoming to everybody, and
That's so cool. Imagine bringing in some of the big bands that you've done sound for. And
Yeah.
they're like, I want you to record my album.
that'd be sick. Because like on a yearly basis, I'm probably interfacing with thousands of musicians coming through the valley here.
Oh, glad, yeah.
Between my technical director job at the Dream Cafe, which is like a Canadian gem. Like it's a very well known venue across Canada that every musician knows about.
Everyone wants to play at.
In this little small town of Penticton, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I'm also the lead technician down at the Venables Theatre in Oliver as well.
Heard a lot of good things about there.
Yeah,
I'd love to get in there one day.
it's a beautiful facility. Yeah, and then I work at the arena as well as a high rigger.
Okay.
So that's a fun job.
I bet.
Yeah.
Do you get to meet a lot of the people that you look
I
up to?
don't actually.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
They're very, they got their own rooms and security. Yeah.
It's probably such an annoying question, but
Yeah.
like you get asked it tons. Probably.
Can you give me tickets? Yeah.
Give me tickets?
Give me in the show. I'm like, I can't, man. I'm just a high rigger.
I just work here, dude. I just work here. But to, like, to move up from that, like to doing sound in your room to doing sound for like, who was it that recently? Like Lamb of God and like.
Yeah. I actually don't mix them because they come with their own
Yeah.
production crew. What I do is, you know how the speakers and the lights are floating off the ceiling?
So you're the one putting all those up?
Yeah, so I'm the guy up in the beams dropping my rope down to connect the chain motors to the beams.
That's so cool.
And then that just comes back to like my high pressure addiction, my masochism.
Right.
I love to be scared and do challenging things.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
That's a.
So that's a really fun job.
Yeah, I cannot.
Like you got to calculate the math. I really love doing math too. So like you got to like make the angle of the rigging drop where the production crew needs the speakers or a certain light.
So there's a lot more than just dropping a rope.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like.
Yeah, there's hundreds of people involved in those productions. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't even realize like there's a 1,000-person crew doing that job. and you're paying $100 a ticket, and you're complaining about the prices.
Yeah. And they do this all in a day.
They do that all less than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's they set it up, tear it down, and pack it back into the car to get on the road.
And then they're on the road again.
in one day. Like, the music industry is not a. I wish that when we were younger, there was somebody who could have been like, don't do it. It's like, it is not a industry where you can make money as an artist.
Yeah.
The people who make the money are the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that's
what I kind of realized. That's why I stopped writing music for a really long time, was because I do enjoy writing music, but I also enjoy, producing other artists as well, because I get to still write music, but it's less of a personal risk, I guess.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I realize that I like behind the scenes. I don't like being on stage as much. Or like, if I do, I like hiding behind a microphone and an instrument and kind of just playing. I don't like being the star of a show anymore. Like,
Yeah.
where like,
Attention and
yeah, I think it's just being a parent. I've just kind of like lost a lot of that natural ego you have as a musician. Where you're like, oh, I'm a musician. We're cool. Like, now I'm like, yeah, like I don't like, I enjoy writing, but it's more like the behind the scenes stuff that I really enjoy the older I get. Like the booking of shows and festivals, and like the networking with bands, and the ordering of merch, and like the money aspect, like being the actual, like turning it into a business has become the thing that I love more than playing the music, which is a really weird concept. Like, finally understanding how I can make this a lifestyle has become such an addiction that I can like live off my music and my art as like whatever I'm doing. It becomes such a powerful addiction that it's like I almost forget to write music now.
yeah. Well, there's creating music and there's the business of music,
Yeah.
and they're totally different things, man.
Yeah. And it's I don't know, it's a weird industry, but it's a powerful industry, especially like what you can do. And I think you kind of prove that with I have an idea, like you have an idea and you go with it and you make it happen. In those moments though, do you find like out from behind the camera when you're onto the computer at editing, are there moments where you're like stressing out while editing because you're like, I can't get this message through the way I want to portray it because I missed
the
30
shot.
seconds of that shot, or like those kind of things?
Yeah, or if I could have done it differently, this would have rolled out better. Yeah. You need those moments though. That's where your self-improvement and new ideas come out of, because like you run into those problems, you're like, how can I get myself out of this predicament? And then you come up with different creative ways to make the story work, or the song work, or the budget work. It's not easy.
Do you find it, this is probably a weird question, do you find it more enjoyable to do a job with a smaller budget or one with a bigger budget?
Oh, bigger budget for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
See, I kind of like that, like DIY, like trying to figure out what you're going to do.
Well, I've done that so many times though, so I'm kind of
You're just like, I'm over it.
It's getting old for me, and
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate enough to like have an awesome client roster that see the value of what I'm doing, and they see the value of what I'm doing because of the value I'm adding.
That's your skill set.
Yeah,
too,
and if
right?
I can keep doing bigger projects, I'm just gonna attract bigger clients. So,
of all your projects that you've done, which has been your favorite to film?
it was probably my lowest budget. I know I just said I love big budgets.
It's that DIY.
It was like one of my first films. I had $5,000 to make it. It was a grant from Arc'teryx and Vancouver International Mountain Film Festival.
Wow. That's a huge name drop on that one too.
Yeah.
That's a big company.
They only gave me $5,000 though.
I know, but still, for
Which
them to
I
reach out to you,
loved.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was an ice climbing film about ice climbing in the Okanagan, which is the dumbest thing you could do because this weather system we have is not conducive at all. So there's a lot of sketchy moments, and I was just getting into ice climbing, so I wasn't a really good ice climber yet. So it was like all new and tingly, and I got to work with one of the most famous climbers out there today, Tim Emmett.
Okay.
He's from the coast now, originally from Britain,
Oh, wow.
from the UK. But yeah, it's like, I'm hanging off this 90-foot frozen waterfall filming Tim Emmett, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And that was like, I don't know. I have a photo, a selfie of me there, just like filming Tim Emmett, and it's like one of my favorite photos.
That's so funny.
Just that memory of being so cold and tired, just living the life.
That reminds me of our first one that we did. It was a documentary about the pandemic, after the pandemic, the music scene in BC.
Yeah.
And we got to interview Unleash the Archers. I don't know
Cool.
how, I still to this day don't know how Ryland managed to make that happen, but we got to go to their jam space in Vancouver
That's sick.
and hang out with Unleash the Archers for like 2 hours and listen to Brittany talk about the BC music scene. Probably the most inspiring thing I've ever heard, because they're one of the biggest bands out of Canada. And she's like, y'all need to start letting openers open up. Like, if you're playing a big show, like, we always have a younger band open up for us when we play locally. They're out of state now. They don't really play local because they're headlining massive festivals. But it's those moments of, like, how the hell did this happen? Like, you're hanging off a wall 90 feet up filming this guy. And it's like, I'm interviewing one of my favorite bands of all time. And how does this happen? Those moments are, like, worth more than anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't trade that moment for $1 million, now that I think about it. Like, and if it wasn't for, like, StoryHive giving me that opportunity to be like, oh, I want to do this, and they support you. Like, it's
Storyfy is awesome. Like,
I love them.
They're community builders, and
They are.
yeah, they're doing a very important thing.
And I really, it is needed. And that's the one thing that, like, I hope Canada kind of, like, sees more as, like, how much value we have in our arts community. Because, like, yeah, our sports teams are great. Everyone loves our sports. And, like, we've got a lot of famous pop musicians that have come out of Canada. But, like, the underground scene is where Canada thrives. And they don't see it. And that's kind of, like, my whole objective with Enigma is to, like, help expose the underground and what magic is hiding in Canada. Because, like, we've got diamonds, we just need to mine them. You know what I mean? And StoryHive allows that. And I think that it's kind of a cool thing that being able to work with all the arts communities as one, like in this project where we get to, like, interview glassblowers and producers and dancers and, like, people who do random things.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what makes our region so beautiful. Like, the Okanagan is a gorgeous area, and it's not because of its wine region. The wine is only an addition to it. Like, we grew up before the wine region was even here, when all the wineries used to be apricots and peaches. And the arts that has always thrived here, though. Like, one of the biggest people out of Canada is from Penticton, Shane Koizan. He went on tour with the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
And we got to watch him at the
legit.
Hog's Breath. Penticton is...
Opened up the Olympics.
Exactly. Like, Penticton is so magical.
And
and
everybody wants to come here.
I know, and we're just stuck in this, like, little valley that, like, is just a wine... It's called a wine region. And I'd love to see it go from a wine region to Canada's art capital. Because that's what, in my mind, it is. Like, Vancouver's got arts, yes, but it's, like, forced arts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's the big city forced.
Yeah.
Just like, there's an ickiness to it. I don't, it's icky. Here is very, like, genuine and, like, hippie-esque and, like, Nelson, like, the interior is so beautiful and vibrant, and it's just, like, because it's not on the main highway, you either come here for the beaches or you come here for the wine. And it would be nice to see, like, the world come here for the art and the music and the culture. Because we do. The Okanagan has an amazing culture. And, like, you capture it in some amazing ways and express it and show it to different people. You know what I mean? And I think that's all that it takes. It's just a handful of people doing their passions. And at the end of the day, it just grows. If there was any advice that you'd give to an aspiring filmmaker or musician, sound engineer, that doesn't know how to get into the industry, what would your advice for them to be?
I would say invest in yourself and never stop learning.
Education.
Yeah, that's the one asset that a boss can never take from you, a company can never take from you. It's something that lives inside of you as you move forward. So that's it.
Just believe in yourself.
Just build value within yourself, and other people will see it.
Yeah. And I think you've achieved that.
Yeah.
And I think
Thanks,
that
man.
you're a prime example of if you just believe in yourself and you work hard enough and you've got the right group of people that work with you.
It's very important who you're surrounded by.
It is. And I think that that's like, I always talk about it. It's like family is one thing, but the family that you make around what you build is more of like the family, because blood is one thing, and then there's who you build, right?
Family can traumatize you.
Yep. Yes, they can. So it is it's an inspiring thing, and we haven't been able to sit down and talk in, I want to say, more than 10 years, because just life's been so crazy. Like, I'm pretty sure your son wasn't even born yet at the point. So it's beautiful. Like, for me, it's amazing to see where you and Andrea have come and where you guys are going.
Thanks.
And it's like, it's awe-inspiring almost, because
Same to you, man.
like I grew, like I remember still to this day the day you were like, hey, you want to come jam with me in Ruckus? And I was like so honored, because I looked up to you as a musician and you were asking me to come sing, and that led to quite literally where I am today, where I'm like putting on music festivals and
Man.
playing it loud as hell and AMF, and like these are the things that are like full circle moments. And that's why I kind of like this, getting to do this program, is like getting to come back and see where my friends are 10 years later when they're successful. And
it only takes a film crew and a bunch of equipment for us to get together, you know?
Well, that's the thing, is it's like so hard with life and that's one thing like that's reoccurring. Like every time everyone's just been so busy, and it's because we're all so focused on our lives that it's like our goals are constantly going, and it's hard to stop it, step back and be like, okay.
Yeah, especially in this world where like you're like the productivity is just squeezed out of you, and like you don't get moments to just chill.
No.
That's why I hitched my boat up before you came, because I want to go fishing after this and
we're gonna wrap up so
take
you can
some
go
of that
fishing.
time.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you so much, brother, for having me.
man.
I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you too.
And
Thanks for coming by.
I'll just come by anytime. I'd
good.
love to see where you've gotten to, and it's amazing to sit down with you.
Yeah, I'd love to meet your kids too.
Yes, for sure. And we will catch you guys next time.